welcome to Cake Craft with Jeannette. Ta-da! Do you like my sign? Very fancy. This is the first episode of 6 demos that I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. Each week I'm going to do a different project. So it might be something sculpted or modelled or painted or maybe characters or just a big mix of everything really. So hopefully you'll get some really nice tips and techniques to try out yourself at home. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeannette Mcpherson. I run my own cake business up in the Highlands of Scotland near Loch Ness, and I've been making cakes probably for about maybe 10 years, 9 years, something like that. I can't think. Too long. I haven't got a clue, something like that. So a lot of my stuff is sculptural, so that's what I'm probably going to focus on over the next wee while. So today's project for episode 1 is going to be this little mousey. Isn't he cute? Tiny little face. So we're going to focus on sculpting this wee guy, okay? But I am going to speak about how to make the apple base as well, and I'm going to paint, hopefully, eventually, at the end of this, if we get time. The demos are only about 50 minutes long, and I'm not the fastest caker in the world. So we'll see how we get on, but hopefully we'll have time to paint it all as well. So yeah, this little dude is what we're going to make. So I'm going to pop the camera down and we'll just get cracking. So we do have a fair bit to get through. So I'll just pop this down. Come with me. There we are. Hopefully you can all see that, not too bad. There we go. So I'll just spin this dude a little bit more so you can see him. Okay, so it's this really cool apple. Been on the ground a little while, I think, and he's had a good old munch. And we'll make the really cute little mousy character. Okay, so let's get cracking. Let's get going. To make the apple, let's start with that actually. To make the apple, I used a small ball cake. I think it's probably about 4 inches. This one is about 5 inches, maybe something like that. So you can make it whatever size you want. If you want to make it like a big cake, a bigger cake, you could easily do that. Just make sure that the bottom half is styrofoam and you've put a dowel into your dowel so it's going to hold it all together for you. You'll need to make sure it's structurally sound if you're going to do that, okay? But for a little ball cake, this is fine. A little dowel to hold it all on there so it doesn't roll off, okay? So you can see that it started off as the ball cake, like I'm saying. And all I did was add in 2 little dimples for the top and the bottom of the apple. Now I put them in at a wee angle, so it looks like it's kind of jauntily rolled onto the ground. You don't want to look like it's just, you know, been placed. So I'm trying to make it look like it's maybe just a fallen apple, yeah? And then the only other thing I did was I cut a section out of the front here. You can use like a cookie cutter for that, and then spoon some out, and then I ganached it all and I covered it in sugar paste, and then I started to add some texture, and I'll show you how I did that. So these tools here, these are Cake Duchess tools, and they're very sort of heavy duty ones, but this one that I'm using is probably similar to like a Dresden tool kind of thing. So it's got like a sharp end and a sort of more blunt end. So if you use the blunt end on here, I was just really digging in little munch marks. That's all I was doing. So I worked my way all around this whole section, making all the wee munchy marks where the mousie's been eating the apple, okay? So that's all I did there. And then on the outside of the apple, all I did was I took the sharper end of Etty's tool and I ran it across from where the top of the apple is to the bottom of the apple is, and I just ran lots of lines to give it some texture all the way around the apple. I sort of focused on where the dimples were for the top and the bottom of the apple, and I also focused on just at the edges here, so just bringing it out a little bit to give some more texture to the edge of the cut piece. Okay, so that's all I've done to the apple, nothing else. So it's quite straightforward to put together if you want, but you can just also just do this mouse on its own. You don't have to have this. You could also maybe do, I don't know, it doesn't have to be an apple, it could be an orange, it could be a cotton reel, it could be anything you like basically, but or just have the wee mouse on its own for any of your cakes, okay? So I'll put this to one side and we'll start on the mouse. Now, for making the mouse, I use a mix of sugar paste and modelling chocolate. So if you can find yourself a good stretchy sugar paste, I use Cake Duchess again, her covering paste, and then I make my own modelling chocolate, okay, and I mix it in about a 50-50 ratio. And it gives you a really good stretchy but sculptural kind of quality to it. It's really fab. So I'm going to show you how really quick it is to make a mouse shape. You'll be fascinated. Or well, my wee lad was, so maybe you will be, I don't know. Okay, so we're going to roll it into like a little kind of sausage shape, or a cone shape maybe. Okay, there we are. Now, the mouse I'm going to make him kind of looking up at the sky a little bit more. We'll do him a slightly different position to this, just so you can see a wee different position. Okay, so you can see how well it holds itself already. You know, it's a lot better than just sugar paste on its own when you're wanting to maybe work on it for a little while and what have you. It's just it's really good for holding its shape. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just roll together with my fingers here to make a little neck area. And you're just doing this really roughly to get the approximate shape, and then we'll build on it from there. Okay, so that's the head in. You can see it's still holding itself, yeah. Next I'm going to pull out 2 ears from the back, so we're just pinching from here. 1, 2. There we go. So 2 little ears. See, it's already looking like a mouse. Super quick. I'm going to pinch a wee bit off. I think I've made his nose a bit long. There we are. The other good thing about this mix of modelling paste and sugar paste is that it blends really easily. So you can just pat it back together. There we go. So now that we've done that, if you lift them up, and if you just run your finger into a dent in the front of his tummy, and we're going to pull out little side feet. And press them down. So he's got a nice little base to sit on, okay? Yeah, so we're just pulling out 2 little feet from there. Don't worry about the shape. If you're looking at this thinking, oh my goodness, we are going to go in and work on it more, I promise it's not going to end up looking like this. It's going to end up looking like this. Promise. Stick with it. So we've got this shape, still holding itself nicely. And I'm just going to pull out 2 little arms so I know where they're going to be. Just the same as we did before. It's just like working with plasticine or something, you know, just pulling it all out. It's brilliant. Okay, so there's these 2 little arms. 2 little legs. And then the last thing to do is pull out a little tail. So just again, from a piece at the back of his butt, just pull out a tail. Like this. Setting down again. If you feel the paste getting soft in your hands, it's just the modelling chocolate melting a wee bit, so just set it down, it'll soon set up again. You can see how well it's holding. You know, there's no support in this at all, so you're not worrying about trying to poke wires through arms and all that sort of nonsense. This is really good for this. Okay, so wee tail like that. And look, you've already got a wee mousey shape. How quick was that? Minutes. Couple of minutes. Okay, so that's the basic shape of the mouse that we're going to work from. I'll just turn him around so you can see. Okay, and that is what he started as. And from there, I only added texture and a few pieces of extra modelling chocolate for extra little bits of fur and things like that. So I promise you, by the time we finish this, it's going to look like that. Really easy. So we're going to add a little bit more detail. And I'm going to start with the ears, okay? Just so that because they're a thin piece, they might start to harden quite quickly. So I'm going to try and get this in before they start to harden up. So again, I'm going to use this sort of Dresden kind of tool. So I'm using the sharper end of it just now. And if I can turn them around so you can see what's the best angle, we'll try that. So I'm just going to bring, in fact, let's try this. This is another tool. It's basically a ball tool. So there's like a bigger ball tool and a smaller ball tool. So I'm going to use the smaller ball tool. And I'm just going to push his ear in, make his little ear hole first. And that gives us a guide. I'll do it on the other side as well, where we're aiming to basically for the next little section of the ear. So I'm going to take this Dresden tool and I'm just kind of bringing the ear in a little, okay? Now I want him to look like his ears are drooping back a little bit because he's going to be looking up. So how's that looking? Difficult doing it back to front. Okay, so coming from the ear hole then, just push in and round. Yep. Yeah, something like this, okay? And then we do the same on the other side, so I'll just quickly do that. Bringing it round from the ear hole and round from the back. He's an inquisitive mouse, this one. Look, he's having a right look. Looking at the stars, maybe. Oh, that'd be cute, wouldn't it, on a cake? Looking at the stars. Okay, so we've got two little ears that we're going to just pull downwards a wee bit. I want them to be kind of droopy. Yeah, that's it. Droopy down. He's looking up in the air. Isn't that cute? Super simple, super quick. Okay. So now that we've got the ear holes in, that's a good start to that. Next, I am going to look at texturing some of this mouse, okay? And the easiest way to do that, again, is using your Dresden tool again, okay? So I just, because he's quite stable, I can pick him up, not worry too much about him. He's going to hold nice and steady. And I'm going to start adding texture for fur texture. So I'm going to start at the very bottom. And you need to do loads and loads and loads and loads of this. So this takes a little while, okay? But if you can see, that's all we're doing, just little lines. Try and not do it too uniformly, if that's a word. Try and be a little bit more random about it, so you get like a nice furry texture rather than big lines. He's not groomed. He doesn't go to the barbers every week and get his hair trimmed kind of thing. He's a wee bit more loose-haired than that, yeah? But start from the bottom and you work your way all the way to the top, okay? Now, I'm going to set him back down again and we're going to pause for a little break. And when I come back, I'll have done a little bit more of texturing the hair and we can pick up where we left off. So I'll see you in a couple minutes.
I have 3 questions for you. Do you love all things cake? Do you want to learn from some of the world's best cake artists? Do you want to be part of our growing community of over 200,000 members? Then get yourself over to cakeflix.com. We've got some amazing deals on right now. We offer a 365-day support plus the most amazing Q&A service. You can now view us on all the main streaming services. So what are you waiting for? Head over to cakeflix.com now and become part of the Cakeflix family. Woo!
Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of episode 1, Cake Craft with Jeannette. And we're going to continue with our mouse sculpt. So this is where we got to. I've got a little bit more texture on his back there. I just took the opportunity there in a couple of minutes to add a little bit more, but there's still plenty to do. So I'll pop him back down and I'll pop the camera back down and we shall continue with the texturing. Okay. So we're going to keep going with the hair texture, okay? So I've moved up a little bit on the body with it, but not too far. Basically all the hair you want on the main body, you want to head down towards the base, head down towards his butt, basically. You're angling all the marks down towards that, okay? Try and do them small. If you do them too big, he'll look like he's really long haired. You want this to be really tiny little hairs. Okay, so just continuing as we were before. Tiny little hairs. And remembering to try and not be too regular about it, or you'll end up with a mouse that looks like he's been groomed, like we were saying, when you just want him to be kind of a bit more rough and ready. Okay, So we're just working round, that's all I'm doing here. And I'm going to work up to the neck and then stop there just now, because we'll work on the head separately. So this is little arms. I'm just going to push these back in a little bit. If I can turn this round, so that there you are. I'm just going to push these in a wee bit more to kind of sturdy them up a wee bit. They're a wee bit on the thin side, a wee bit flimsy, so I'm just going to bend them over a bit to kind of firm them up. They're just a little bit shorter now, but we're going to add little hands on, like these. So we just need a little kind of stump for his little arm. Okay, so a little bit more texturing then. And then we can always go back and finalise the detail on this again. Okay, you just want to kind of get a rough hair texture all over the body, get the majority of it done. Just now. We'll do the other little arm around here. So more hair, more hair, more hair. Try and vary the sort of pressure you're putting on as well. So you get deeper hair and lighter hair and so on. It just adds a nice bit of texturing, just all helps. Make it look a little bit more natural. Right. That's looking good. You can see how quickly it comes together. Mice are such easy wee creatures to make, and they're lovely. You can do so much for these guys. They're really sweet wee character. Even on wedding cakes, eh? Maybe on like a woodland wedding cake, maybe that'd be sweet, wouldn't it? Loads of these guys. Okay, I'll just lift it up so you can see. If you find that the paste's getting a little bit soft again, and that you're maybe losing some of the texture when you're picking them up and moving them around, just leave them to sit for a wee minute and he'll just harden up again. But we'll keep going just now. Okay, so right up to his neck there. The other bit was down at his tail. I just kind of do a few little marks down onto his tail to kind of blend it in. There we go. That's all. I'm just going to put some of these marks in as I squished there with my hot thumbs. There we are. It's really warm just now. I don't know what's happened to Scotland. It's not normally warm like this, or not very often anyway. Right. Okay. So now that we've done all the way around the body, we're going to start working on a little bit of detail on the head. Now, I always have reference pictures beside me. Okay, look, I even have Apple ones as well. Always, always, always work with reference pictures. It doesn't matter how much you think you know what something looks like, I guarantee your brain doesn't quite remember it as well as it should. So it's always much better to work with reference pictures, okay? For example, I would have just left, my brain would have said, oh, just leave the head that shape. That's like a mouse head shape, but it's not. It's these guys have got really chubby cheeks, which I really didn't realise that, but they do. They've got really like little chubby little faces. Look at that guy in the middle there, really chubby faces. So we need to fatten them up a bit. Fatten them up a bit. So I'm going to take a wee bit more modelling paste. And this is a wee bit trial and error, okay? Just till you get the right shape. So I wonder what's the best way to show you. I think this way maybe. Yeah. That was a good reason for doing the head up. I meant that. So that you can all get a really good view. Okay. So we'll just put a few wee bits of texture in the middle there, at the top of his head kind of thing. Okay, but let's beef up these cheeks a wee bit. Okay, so I'm going to make two kind of teardrop shapes. And these are going to be these two cheeks. Okay, there we are. And I'm going to put the fat pieces towards the back of his cheeks and the thin pieces towards the front, like his nose basically. And just blend them in there. I'll turn that round so you can see where they are on the side, okay? So that's us building up the cheek area. so that we can make them look a bit more chubby, because they're definitely little chubby creatures. Okay, turn them back around this way. I think this is probably the best view for you. There we are. So all I'm doing here is just gonna blend that into the shape, but you don't need to worry too much about getting rid of all the seams because you're going to texture it all with hair again, so don't worry too much about it. But you can see how easily that's blending. Well, I hope you can anyway. If not, take my word for it. It's blending. And there we go. So try not to flatten the shape. You really want to keep that big chunky shape. If I turn it round, that's what it looks like underneath, and that's fine because we're going to do something else after this to blend it all in again. So same again on this side. Just blend this in at the top edge, and that'll give me his little chubby cheek on this side. So you can see that already that looks like much more like a mouse kind of shaped head. If I turn it that way, you see? So this kind of rounded shape rather than that long thin shape that we had, that wasn't quite right. You need to beef them up a bit. Okay, so now that's looking good. I'm going to add a piece underneath, which is kind of like his chin sort of area down to his little mouth. So I'm going to do another kind of teardrop shape. Oh, that's a bit big this time. Yeah, but it's nearly given him about 5 chins there. That's a bit much, I think. And I'm just going to flatten it a little bit. Not too much though. Okay. And that piece I'm going to put from down at his sort of neck area. Oh, what's happened with the light? There we are. Down at his neck area, up again. And you might need to stretch it, but this is really good consistency. If you're using the 50/50 sugar paste and modelling chocolate, you'll be able to stretch it, okay, just like I did there. To go up and almost make like a little lower lip. You can see that, so we're a bit close there, yeah? And then what we'll do is just spread it out to fill that little gap underneath, so very carefully. You don't want to lose the roundness of it, but you do need to kind of fill it in the wee gap, join it up a wee bit. But again, don't worry about, you know, blending it completely seamlessly. It's, you know, we're going to wait to put loads of hair texture on it again, so you really don't need to worry too much about that. Just enough to fill the area in. And there we go. Okay. Like that. So then, give me a wee push up, keep them up. Let's make sure that's blended under there, yeah? Yeah. Okay, so now I want to give him like a little kind of dimple under his chin. So like here, where it comes round, and then just under a little bit before it gets to his lip. So I'm just going to use one of my tools. It doesn't really matter which one. I'll use one of the ball tools here. But I'm not using the ball tool, I'm actually using the edge, the sort of cylindrical part of this. So if you have a tool that's kind of a cylindrical thing. And I'm just going to rock it a little bit there. Okay. Gently pat it out. There we are. That's beginning to look a lot more like a chubby wee mouse. Yeah? Cute. Okay. So once you're happy with the shape of that, general shape, don't worry too much about it looking neat and perfect. That's kind of the structure of your head done. So then you need to start thinking about things like, but where's the eyes going to go before I start texturing the whole thing, you know? So the next stage I would do on this is pop my little eyes in. Now the eyes on these, again, they were actually further forward than I expected. They're quite far forward, if you look at a real mouse. Not away back at his ears. So I am going to put them, where's a good view? There. Now we'll try and do this back to front, this will be fun. Let me see, I'll make a little mark for myself maybe first. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? At least maybe get it half right. Okay, so I'm going to say about there. Okay. Okay, so let's just pop an eye in there. So I'm using the smaller end of the ball tool, but I'm going to wiggle it to quite a big eye because they do have quite big eyes, so I want quite a big eye socket for them. There we are, and then a matching one on the other side. So I just turn it round so that you can see the other eye, so you can match it up. You want them to be kind of even. If you were doing a sort of crazy cartoon mouse, you might want to not have them even, so that it kind of looks a bit googly-eyed or cock-eyed, but we want them to kind of look kind of sort of realistic. Okay. There we go. 2 little eye sockets. Yeah. Can you see from the back? That's maybe better. There. Yeah. So that's what you're aiming for. Now, because I'm turning him around so much to the camera, I'm losing his fur texture, so I'm just going to add a little bit more back in. You guys will be much better with this. It's just because I'm turning around so much trying to get a good angle for you guys to see. But you won't need to touch him nearly as much. Just set him down and do some fur. You'll be absolutely fine. I'll just put back in what I've lost a wee bit though. There we go. Looking good. Okay. Turn him this way again. Head up, little man. Okay, so going for a little bit more fur texture underneath, I'm just going to add a bit more under his chin. Very gently, just as we were before. Heading down. I'm just going to pick him up to get under his chin. Saying he, how do I know it's he? Could be she. We'll go with he. There we are. The texture under his chin now, so that's nicely matched up to the body. Yeah? Okay. So, it is probably time for another short break. And then when I come back, we'll continue with the head structure then. So I'll see you again in a couple of minutes. Hi everyone, welcome back to part 3, and we're going to continue with the features on the head and getting the little hands and feet on, finishing off the sculpting. Okay, so hopefully you can see this a little bit better now. I've moved you in a wee bit closer. So now we're going to add in a little mouth, and the paste that we added already has kind of already started to show us where the mouth needs to go. We want to give a little indent to just the end of this I'm using, by the way, is the Dresden tool again, but it's like the blunt end, yeah? So I'm just digging in a little bit at the mouth, like this, and just pulling down a little bit to give him a little lip, like this, yep? And that's the start of the mouth. So then you want to use the other end of your Dresden tool, the sharper end, to pull it into a smile. Now this is not easy doing it round that way when I can't see. I'm just going to smooth that in a bit, I think. Yeah, there we are. Now the mouth doesn't go too far back. It's quite a cute little mouth just at the front of the mouth. So it's only going to come back to just before the eyeball. I'm just going to lift it a little bit there. Yeah, where I want it to stop. And then just define it a little bit more. Remember, again, we're going to texture all this, so we don't need to worry too much. So just a little mouth like this. And then we do the same on the other side. Try and line them up so you've got a nice even smile. So I'm just feeling where one side is and marking in the other. And then we'll make the little smile. There we are. And I'm just going to push that mouth back in again a wee bit. Don't want it too wide open, but just enough to make it look like it's the little bottom lip. And I'm just going to pinch it in a wee bit as well. There we go. So the next thing we want to do then is a little line up towards the nose. Tiny little line there. And then two little nostrils. They're in a little V shape. So just a little one here. And one on the other side. Okay. And then you can try and, if you just give it a little push, it gives it kind of like a little rounded end to it, which is quite cute. That's what we're starting to get to. So I always think at this stage it kind of looks like it's a skull at the minute, but that sort of idea, okay? There we are. So now we need to finish the texturing on the head. I'll just turn this, sorry, gosh, I'm turning this thing round and round and round, it'd be dizzy. Okay, so we'll just continue with the texturing on the head. Now it's lighter as you get towards the nose. So just very short and very light all the way to the nose. Around the eyes, towards the ears. You pull it into the ears a wee bit. And again from the nose down through the cheeks. Just keep texturizing all that. The whole head. And there we are. Any sections like this where it's not blended together yet, that's okay. You can just do that as you're doing the fur. The model in chocolate blends as you go, so just keep pulling it in. And then the same on the other side. Down through the cheeks. Over the head. You can pull it into the ears again. Just very lightly down towards that nose. Like that. And then of course underneath as well, just a little tiny, very light texture there too. You can see that's starting to make the cheeks kind of blend together a bit better as well. And you can take a little time to define the mouth a bit better if you wish as well. Just making sure all the surfaces have got a tiny little bit of texture. Doesn't need to be heavy hair at this point, but just a tiny little bit of fur, really. Wee hairlines, that's all you're looking for, really. All the way around there. Ooh, his nose is squint. Let me straighten that up. And there we are. That's better. And then also round the nose area, I'm going to use the very pointy end of this other tool. And I'm just going to put tiny little dots in round the nose area. And a few around this side too. Hopefully you can see those. Yep, just a few little dots like that either side. Okay. And then we need to thin out the ears. Finish up those. So I'm going to use the bigger ball tool. And with my thumb behind, I'm just going to press the ball tool in, so that you get kind of like a little lip around the edge of the ear. Hopefully, yeah, you can see that. Just a little lip. You can even encourage it over itself a wee bit if you want. Yep. Just makes it look a little bit thinner and more realistic, I think, really. Same on this side. this ear gets the same treatment. So thumb behind, ball tool in, and just very gently thin that edge. There we are. And then I'm just going to redefine the ear holes. One there. A little bit more texture. On the bits that are needing done. There we are. Ready for time, getting there. Doing not bad actually, I think. Okay. I'm just going to lift that ear. That one seems to have fallen a wee bit, so I'm just going to lift that ear up. This is the great thing about modelling chocolate. You can really just move it around until you get it where you need it to be. Great stuff. Okay. All right. So now what we'll do is we'll put his eyeballs in. So when I'm doing his eyeballs, what I do is I put like a little kind of socket first almost, because then it gives you like a little rim. It's almost like a wee eyelid or something like that. There is like a little rim around the eyes, not just an eyeball straight in. So I'm fussy and I like to do little details like that. So pop a tiny little ball in, and using the ball tool, press it in, wiggle it around a bit so you've got this kind of little rim. Now it doesn't bulge out, it shouldn't bulge out, it should just be nicely in the socket there. And the same on the other side. Pop that one in, ball tool, and if it's too thick and a bit too bulgy, you can just bring it in a little. Just move it in a little bit and press in, and then make sure you've got a nice big socket for getting the wee eyeball in. There. Okay, so we'll get 2 eyes in now, 2 eyeballs. Same again. Just check your sizing. It's a little bit big. The eyes do bulge a little, so don't worry about trying to get it to disappear in. You do want them bulging a little bit, but not horrendously, just like that. Okay. Another one on the other side. There we go. One on that side too. Cute little mouth and cute little eyes now. There we are. Okay. So from now what I would do is just tidy up a little bit of the detail. When you are working with this, obviously I'm keeping going because it's a wee demo and I'm trying to show you all in one go, but just let it rest if it gets too warm. Okay, if the paste gets too warm, just let it rest and it'll set up again and then you can keep going. Right, that looks pretty good to me. Also up the backs of the ears I tend to do a little bit of texture as well. Just a few wee lines, just so that nothing's completely plain and textureless. I don't really like seeing that on an animal. It should really all be textured, pretty much. And then just a couple on the inside as well. There we are. Okay, so the last thing to do with the mouse then is to add his little feet and his arms. Hands. Arms? Feet? Are they all feet? I don't know. Answers on a postcard too. I don't know. Do you call mice? They must all be feet, presumably. Anyway, whatever. There's 4 of them and we need to add them on. So that's what we're going to do now. Oh dear. Okay. So for the arms, upper feet, whatever you want to call them, they need to be like tiny little, you can still see in here, tiny little, they are really, really tiny and very fiddly, but I'll show you quickly how to do one. And then I've got some I prepared earlier to stick on here, okay? So we'll just, it's just like a long sausage and we flatten out one end. There we are. And then I'm going to use just a kitchen knife that I have there, my favourite knife. And I'm just going to cut some little fingers, so I'm cutting out some V shapes and taking the V shapes away, if that makes sense. Don't worry if it sticks Just try and get it down to about 4 wee finger shapes. And there we are. Gently lift it up. So it looks quite scraggy. Where are we? There. But don't worry, because we're just going to tidy that up. It's very difficult to show this because they're so tiny whiny. I'm just going to put them together. And I'm going to pull, which gives them really nice fine ends. I'm going to trim them if they get too long. And I just keep fiddling until I get them kind of the length I want. So just something like that. Okay, so I have a few that I made earlier because they are a bit fiddly to try and do all 4 of them anyway. A bit boring to watch all that. So there's 2 that we'll add on up here. So I'm just going to cut them a wee bit smaller. These ones are quite big, so let me think. Yeah, just going to trim them so the arms are not quite so long. And I work out where I want them to go. Where's it? He's still there. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to create a little bit of a rough, soft area for them to go into. Now, if you're using the arms straight from when you've made them, then they'll stick on really easily. We might have a wee bit more trouble today, but shouldn't be too bad. And I'm just going to move some paste to kind of hold it in place. So if you're sticking them straight onto the paste that's already wet, then you'll be fine. It'll just hold. I'll just try and get it to hold for just now. There we are, so there's one. And I'm going to turn it in a little. Turn it inwards. And then another one on the other side. Yeah. So a lot easier when you do this when it's wet, but hopefully this is enough to give you enough of an idea to have a wee try yourselves, okay? So 2 little arms, like so, okay? And then feet are just the same process, but slightly longer on the leg part, if you like. So again, I have another couple here that we'll just use. We'll trim off. Oh, and the fingers fell off the middle, that was handy. He's now a rocking mouse. Oh well, let's just go with it. I just drop them underneath and they'll stick. And then the other one, let's see if he's rocking on this side as well. Hopefully not. There we go. That one's a bit better. Let's drop them underneath. Okay, so that's all the bits of the mouse done. So I have another one that I made a bit earlier that's nice and dry for us to paint. I'll bring him in. There we go. Hello. So this is the one that I'll use for painting because he's all nice and solid and dry now, okay? And we'll put this one to one side. So when we come back, we'll take another wee break, and when we come back, we'll do some painting and finish up there. Thanks very much. Hi guys, welcome back to part 4, the final part. This is our little mouse that we just made in the last demo, looking up at the sky. Okay, so because he's quite soft and not great for painting, you're better to wait till they dry. So we're going to put him to one side. There you go, wee mousey. And this is one I made earlier on that is much more solid. Okay, so he's much better for painting and you've got a drier surface. So I just added him to one of the apples as well. Okay, so I'll show you how I went about painting. For painting, I use a selection of dusts. I've got palettes off to the side here with lots of dusts in, all different colours, greens, blues, pinks, oranges, browns, everything you can think of that you might need for this. I have some water for washing my brushes. I have a big mug of paint brushes. And I have a little bit of vodka in an egg cup there. Okay, so I'm using dusts and vodka for painting today. So we are going to start with the mouse because he is the most important bit today. So what we'll do is just, I'm grabbing some, I could actually bring this into view, that might help. You see it there? Little, oh there, right, I'll try not to put my elbow in it. I'll just bring them in a little bit so you can see roughly what I'm doing with at least some of it anyway. Okay, so I'm just grabbing a little bit of vodka on a big brush, and I'm actually going to grab quite a dark colour. I'm wanting a brown. I'm going to take a darkish brown, and I'm going to start painting on here. Now, he's very dark, but he's not going to stay very dark because I'm using lots of vodka, and do you see how the darkness is going into the sort of deepest parts of the texture? That's what you want. Okay, so the hair is going to pick up all the detail. Sorry, the airbrush is going to pick up all the detail of the hairs as well. The airbrush? The colours. I'm getting tired. The colours are going to pick up all the deep spots of the texture, yeah? So you can see that's working already, yeah? Super quick. So just whack a heap of that on. Technical term, whack it on. And then with vodka, it kind of washes off again and then washes into the deep parts, like we were saying. Okay, so we'll just whoop round. Now I'm not going up the belly, I leave the belly white. You can maybe see that on this one if I turn around a little bit. So I'm not going to do the belly. I will add some shading, but not going to do the belly on there in this dark colour. There we go. And there, around the arm. And around this side. Woo! Nearly lost the vodka. Oh, dear me. I'm running out as well, I better not do that. Right. Get that all around. Okay, so hopefully you can see we're beginning super quick to get some difference in texture rather than a flat colour, which is going to look really flat textured then. We're getting this really nice kind of darks and lights. So if you feel an area is just looking a bit too flat, just add some water or add some more colour, whichever you're needing to do. Right, up around the neck and the face, just coming very gently down towards the nose, not right up to it because we're going to put some pink on there, and not right down underneath the cheeks either. Leave this chin part white too. You can go around the head like that. So remember to leave the tip of the nose, and we'll do a really nice little pink colour, which will look rather lovely, I think. There we go, so you can see in his head it's really picking up all your E lines. It was worth all that texturing, you see. Worthwhile. Sometimes don't go right into the eye as well, just leave a little bit round it. Around his wee chubby cheeks. There we go. A bit more. And that's the first kind of coat of colour, if you like, on there. Really doesn't take much. I mean, you could really just stop with one colour if you really wanted, but we're going to add a little bit more. Okay, so once you've done that, you can lift some colour off. If you get your brush really wet with vodka, and just wet some of the areas, you can lift it off with some kitchen roll or whatever you have to hand. And you can see that, sorry, turn around, and that's lifting off as well. It's another way to get some little highlights in. Not over the whole thing, but just over some of it. Yeah, it's working really well there. Just lifting a little bit of the colour off. Another way to get more depth to your colour and tone, okay? Because that's what we want for realism. We want a little bit more than just a brown mouse. Okay, so you get the idea with that. So I'm going to add in some other tones that we can see. It's not just always one flat colour of brown, you know, you do need to add in a few other tones. So I'm going to add in maybe like a little orange. I was painting with this earlier on, it worked quite well. A little kind of orangey brown. Again, lots of vodka, so it's nice and loose, it's really watery, basically. Now I wanted to add this in certain areas round about where his little arm is. And don't be alarmed if you sort of think, whoa, that's far too much colour, because you're about to use the vodka on it again. And then that takes away some of it too. You're just putting on the general tone to begin with. A little bit round his arms. Oh, he's cute, isn't he? Right. There we are. Maybe a little bit on his back to break it up a little. Maybe down his head here. I'm going to put a little bit on his cheeks. You can see it all really starting to come to life. As soon as you start putting this colour on, it really starts jumping into life. Okay. Just going to wash off my brush a little and dry it off. And just where I put those strong areas of colour, I'm just going to wash back over to blend it a little bit more, just at the edges. There we go. And quick round this side. I've got to that stage where I'm fasting. I know I must only have a few minutes left, so punk. Okay, so that is the main colours. So now I'll take another brush, so a smaller one, that'll do. So maybe a smaller one like this. A little bit of vodka, and we want a little bit of a pink colour this time. Again, still quite watery. And the pink we're going to use for the ears, the inside of the ears. Go right in there. A little bit of colour. You don't need to go right to the edge, because what we'll do is water it down so that it'll get kind of lighter towards the edge of the ear. So just right in the middle. There we are. And then with your vodka, just spread it out a little. Same on this side. Just bring the colour around a bit. Make sure you're kind of matching it up with the browns as well. You don't want a hard line round that ear, make sure it kind of melts in with the brown. Merges nicely. Okay. A little bit on the nose. You can see how lightly I'm putting this on. In fact, it's so light you might not be able to see, but it's super light. Just enough to be able to blend it in there. Just enough to pick up a little tiny dose of colour. This isn't about a bright pink Rudolph nose, this is just a little bit of colour. A wee bit on his lip, inside his mouth, up to his nose. A bit more vodka, and very gently you can paint in the wee hands. And this will be a challenge for you, don't snap them off. I snapped several in my practice runs, I have to say. So lightly does it, very lightly. It really is just a touch of colour you're looking for there. Think watercolour actually, this is what I was thinking when I was doing it. I was thinking about watercolour painting and about how very light touch that is. So I'm just doing these little feet too. And don't worry about the colour going down onto the apple, because you're going to paint all that anyway. A little bit more on this one. It's looking cute. Really cute. all coming to life. So you can keep going as much as you like with that, and also add in with a smaller brush, the one that we're using just now, some really dark lines as well. You can add in some more to give it just that extra little depth, okay? So just keep going with that as much as you feel you need till you get a sort of a good mix of colours. Good mix of browns, kind of yellowy browns or orangey browns or whatever sort of shade you're going to go for. Now I'm going to pop in his wee eye. Now when I'm doing animal eyes, I don't tend to make them completely black. I actually do like a sort of kind of browny black. So you can maybe do the same if you wish. Ooh, I'll try and paint this out this angle, that's not so easy. Steady hand. Don't breathe. Let's paint in the eye. Did I do it? Ooh, nearly. Oh, well, you could hear a pin drop with the concentration on that. There we are. I'll do this side, and then we're going to add a highlight as well. Always a highlight in the eyes. Otherwise they're quite dead light, you know, it really brings them to life, just a wee bit of a highlight. Okay. I'll just tidy that up. So you've got two little eyes. So I'm just going to grab a little dot of white. You can make the highlight either by lifting some of the colour off or just by adding some white on. It's whatever you find easiest, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do two. I'm going to do one rather big dot and one smaller. And then the same on the other side. One biggish dot of white. Where it's difficult to show at the same time. And one smaller. Where's the bigger one gone? It's disappeared. Try that again. Okay. Yeah. Just brings them to life. Okay. So then the last thing I'll do on him is his tail. I'll just add a little bit of pink to his tail as well. Ooh, pinky brown. A bit more pinky please. Again, not heaps of colour, just a little. Okay. So if I just do a very quick section of the apple, so you can know how to do that as well. I think that'd be good. So for the inside of the apple, big brush, vodka, and a little bit of a kind of light yellow. Light yellow brown, but lots of vodka just like before. And just dab it all in. All the way around. You can leave areas white. You're just trying to get a good mix, and then just slowly start darkening it up with a little bit more of a browny yellow in some areas. And then getting darker towards the middle. In that section in there. And also around the outer edge here a wee bit as well, and not all the way around, not like a big line, but some around there. Okay, and you just carry on filling, kind of mottling the colour in there. Turn this one around so you can see. Yeah? So you might want to use some like orangey colours and things like that in the middle just to fill that as well. And then for the actual apple skin, very quickly show you. I started off, where will I show you? Around here. Yeah, we'll use this section, that's a good section to show you. So I started off with a kind of an orangey red. But again, a lot of vodka, not too dark to begin with. So coming from the bottom to the top, so make sure your lines are in, so like this, in the right direction from the bottom of the apple to the top. And don't worry about it being streaky, that's actually what you want, okay? And once you've got a base colour on like that, you can build it up with a bit more of a darker colour. And it is all about layering and layering and layering all these colours. So I'll take a smaller brush then, and you start to fill in lines like this. And then some yellow maybe. And you just really keep layering it all up so that you get that super nice stripy kind of colour, or pattern or texture or whatever you want to. So yellow's good there. Okay, and that's really how you build up the whole apple. Just layers and layers and layers. You can add white, you can add browns, you can add a little bit of green. Oops, your retail man. You can add a little bit of green around the sort of the top and the bottom. You can add little dark spots like on here, and you just keep going whole apple until it is all done. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a very good idea of how to make it all. And maybe you'll give it a go, even just the apple maybe, or a few wee mice. Aren't they cute though? What brilliant wee sceneries we made there. Here's the other one. Ooh. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my phone because I think I'm overdue time. I'm getting in trouble again, I'm always over time. So that's my little demo. Thank you so much. I'll just give you another little shot. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been brilliant as always, and please join me next week when we'll have another project to do. Maybe something completely different, maybe another animal, who knows? I don't know, we'll wait and see. So yes, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next week. Bye!